Hi, everybody. We're just going to give it an extra few minutes here, but to get started, thanks for joining us today. And we have Donald presenting again. Um, Thank you guys for coming to our second AI series webinar. We're excited to go over persona today and creating personalization with your AI. And with that, I'll let Donald kick it off. If you guys have any questions throughout the meeting, feel free to put them in the Q&A or the chat, and I will pause every once in a while and ask Donald to stop talking so we can answer those.
All right, awesome. So yeah, this is gonna be our second one. I love AI. I'm super passionate about it. So we missed February because it was kind of a shorter month. So basically, this is February's Lunch and Learn, and we're going to do another one in March here at the end of the month as well. But one of the things I really want to go over at the end is the personalization of AI because it is a really, really big difference in what your outputs are going to look like. We are going to do a prompting refresh. And I do want to share a couple of AI news and security things that changed since even since the last meeting. Actually, I would say even since Monday. Like I learned about this on Monday. So I'm sharing with you some of that stuff because I don't know, it's important and I think you need to know about it. So my name's Donald. I'm the Real IT's service manager, and I'm doing a lot with AI. And then Rita here is with us as well. A lot of you guys know Rita. She's sort of the marketing manager. So there's one thing I was talking with someone here recently about, and it kind of turned a light bulb on. And so before we start, I want to talk about this just a second. It's called a mindset shift. I do this all the time, and somebody say, "Oh, that's really great." I'll say, "Well, AI did it." And somebody's like, "No, why do you keep saying that? Why do you keep doing that?" And here's the thing: no, you did it. We just use AI to help create that end product. I don't when I'm doing something in Word, I don't say, "Oh, Microsoft Word did that, not me." Because there is no difference between AI and Microsoft Word. It's just a tool, and we need to shift our mindset to stop apologizing for using AI. AI is a great tool, but it's a tool. You're doing the work, you're creating the prompts, you're going through and using your expertise to edit it, to refine it, to make sure it's not hallucinating or giving you wrong information. AI did not do that output. You did the output. And that's the mind shift that we need to change. Sometimes, we think of AI as a person. AI is not a person. AI is a computer. It's a tool. So we need to get that straight in our heads to stop apologizing for using it. Now, last month, and I'm going to go over this again just because it's so important, is we talked about about mastering prompting, and I shared this prompt framework with you. I called crafting, and the thing is, it's context, it's role, it's audience, it's format, it's tone. You're explaining and you're delivering, and I know that sounds like a
Donald, are you
lot.
sharing your screen?
Oh, I thought I was. But thank you, whoever put that in. Let me know if y'all can see this. See, I get too excited. I get too excited. I'm just ready to go. So here's the mindset shift. Thank you, because it was vital that I share the screen. Um, so yeah, let's go back to this. I've got it now that you can see. We talked about prompting, and I shared that crafted with you. And it's a lot, right? People are like, hey, this is a lot of stuff. Um, how do I write all of this in one? But really, and I want you to really worry about the three most important. That is context. When you're prompting AI, you have to tell it context. Why do you need this? Why do you need this? What is it for? Who's it's for? And what are my limits? Because depending on the AI tool you use, it's unlimited. So you need to narrow that down and you need to give it limits. It's just like if for those of you have kids, AI is a kindergartner, but it has a little bit more knowledge, but it still needs all this guidance. Some people will say garbage in, garbage out. I like to be positive, and I'll say gold in, gold out, because you're trying to give it as much information as you can to get the right output. So give it context, give it a format. So what does a format mean? Do you want it to, do you want a table of comparison? Do you want bullet points? Do you want a paragraph? Do you need, what do you need? What format do you need that output to be in? Is it a coding? You've got to tell it the format, because otherwise it's just going to make stuff up and you're going to be like, no, that's not what I wanted. So it is important to tell it how you want that format or that response to be. Instead of saying, oh, actually, I needed this as a table. It can't read your mind. It reads what you say or what you type. Finally, the deliverable. So this is the exact task. So it wants you to have an include list and an avoid list, action verbs. What do you want? What's that final output? What's that look like? What do you want it to deliver to you? So if you can get those three, those are the most important. And this next slide I want to talk about just a second. I've included this within my prompt framework. Now, a lot of people have switched over to Claude here lately, just because of some different. It updated its LLM recently, or its model. And one thing with Claude is it loves stops and don'ts. That's how it's going to stay on track. So tell it, stop doing this. I don't want you to do this. So there's a lot of times I'll say, don't try to make a PowerPoint. I want to refine this first. Don't include a table. Don't do this. You're telling it what not to do. Kind of like you're like if you have a kids, don't touch the stove when there's a flame. It's hot. So that's what you're doing with AI. It will do fine asking it what you want it to do, but it will get even better if you tell it what not to do. So that's sort of the refresher on prompting that I wanted to talk about. And we can, if you have any questions, let Rita know, and we can go over that a little bit. But it really is important how you prompt something. Even in my team, I'm like, I'm not getting what I want. It's frustrating to use. And so I'll say, well, how did you prompt it? How did you ask? So that framework, and you can kind of sort of make it your own even, is what you need to start with and getting used to talking about when you're talking with AI and you're prompting AI. Last time we also talked about the different AI, and every LLM is a little different. So LLM is large language model. So either you need to pick the right LLM, or you can work with something like an AI integrator, like I do with Hatz, and it has a little bit of all of them. But let's just refresh what the LLMs are, or the big ones are, and what they're really good for. So you have ChatGPT, and it's a creator. If your job is very creative, if your work task is something you need ideas for and you need to think outside of the box, then ChatGPT is the best LLM for that. And it will always be the best LLM for that, because think of it as that's the company culture of ChatGPT. It is very much a freelancer. It's a very much general AI, and it's a very creative. You have Claude, who's very good at sounding human. It's the best LLM for sounding human. And it's also very good for coding and technical work. And it will always be the best for coding and technical work. And then you have Gemini, which is just a giant nerd, and it loves analyzing things. So there are some, I guess, AI influencers out there will say, I'm switching to Claude and here's how. And then in 6 months, they're going to say, I'm switching to ChatGPT because it's a better here. Look, the newest ones are always going to be a little bit better, but then the next one's going to come out 6 months later with their new model, and it's going to be better. But what I've found when it comes to AI is foundations are being built. So these LLMs, because of who their creators are, the data that they've used to model their outputs after, have specific foundations and have specific goals they're trying to do. So I do think that I am seeing that really firm up, and so that's why I created this. So within Hatz, which I'll be using later, I use all of these for different things. Okay, because it depends what I want is what I'm going to use. I want to talk a little bit now, or I guess, Rita, is there any questions on that?
No questions, but if you guys have them, remember just to drop them in the chat or in the Q&A, and I'll get to them.
And I know I do go a little fast sometimes, so it's okay to stop me. I just sometimes want to get to the actual doing part, but it is okay to ask questions or to stop me at any time. So now I want to talk just a little bit about what's happening right now in AI. I'm not sure how many of you really follow closely with it. So there's some stuff that's really big that's happened this month. And one is you'll see Claude everywhere. I mean, it's absolutely a lot of people are switching to it because of something called co-work and co-code, and they're becoming more and more what we call agentic. And so what that means is people are able to build their own autonomous agents where it will go and do things for you instead of you just prompting it. That is really a giant thing. And they also introduced their latest model. So they're a little bit ahead of GPT in that. So that's
Donald, one question. A question about Grok and its question or in its comparison to the three examples that we just went over. So how does that one compare?
All right, so for the longest, this is interesting. So for the longest time, I was not a fan of Grok, but I used it recently, and I would say for professional, I probably wouldn't use Grok much. Saying that, what Grok is better than the other LLMs is you got to look at who the creator of Grok is and what their foundation is, and it's also all basically based off Twitter data. Grok is really great at being unhinged. If you really need to vent or you're like really out of the box thinking, Grok is fantastic. It will do things that Claude is saying, nah, that I can't be that mean. ChatGPT is sort of the same way. But if you need supreme out of the box thinking, if you're marketing and you want to be contrarian, I think I pronounced that word as correctly as I can. It is fantastic because it's going to be very witty. It's going to be very punchy. Um, and it's just going to give you some stuff that it's going to catch people's eyes, or it's going to make you think, wow, I don't know that I could actually use this, but it will make you laugh. So that's where I come with Grok. Do I think that Grok is a really in the realm of a professional AI at this moment? No. I can tell you that Copilot is experimenting with Grok in the back end. Where that's at as far as their roadmap, I don't know, but I have seen some reports, and I did do some recent webinars on what they're doing sort of in the future, which is what some of this is coming from. Hopefully that answers the question. I'm not sure who asked that, but hopefully that answers your question. All right, so one of the next things now, I talked about how Microsoft was using in the experimental phase of Grok or XAI. Microsoft Copilot now includes Claude. Now you cannot, just let me say this first. In Copilot chat, you cannot switch from GPT to Claude. It will automatically handle some of the it's got something called researcher in it for deep research. If you ask it to deep research or you're using the researcher agent, it automatically uses Claude, but you cannot switch between them in the chat right now. However, I do believe that's coming, but Microsoft has not released the roadmap. It may be available by the next time our Lunch and Learn is. I have no idea. I don't know. What I can say for those of you who or want to go to the AI developer route where you're developing agents for your companies and things like that, there's something called Copilot Studio, which is different than Microsoft 365 Copilot or 365 Copilot. Copilot for 365. They change the name sometimes. But anyway, Copilot Studio, you can create agents, and it does give you the option to switch between GPT or Claude. So that is really new. I just learned about that on Monday. And for me, I love it because Claude is my favorite LLM. It just sounds human. I can really get Claude to sound like me. So that's really what's happening right now. And the biggest thing in AI that we're hearing talk, at least right as this week, or actually this month. Something has changed since the last time we went over this last month. And I know security is a really big deal. Last month, I shared everybody this infographic on the different security levels of each LLM. Microsoft Copilot, in my opinion, is still the best LLM. It is enterprise grade security. It's for corporations. It's for business. So if you have a government contract or you're a CPA or you're in finance in any way, I'm going to steer you towards Copilot just because it is built, your data is safe, your LLM's built on it, it can't go outside, and the protections around it like a wall. It's great. Saying that, what I learned Monday, uh, is Microsoft and Claude came up with an agreement, and now you can use Azure infrastructure to secure Claude. Now, they have not released what that means as far as the compliance, but this will most likely change as soon as I learn the actual details. But what this means basically is Claude will soon be enterprise grade security. Because now it's an additional fee because you're introducing Microsoft Azure services. What that is currently, I have no idea. It was just recently announced. But I am trying to get information on that now. So if somebody was interested in it, I could probably get that soon. But that's a very, very big deal because this is the Claude and ChatGPT's biggest thing why businesses aren't using it. And they're basically saying, yeah, we see this and we're going to make it secure and we're going to use somebody who knows what they're doing. So really, that's a giant milestone for Claude. Okay, any other questions? Or are we ready to actually start talking personalization?
Looks like we're ready, Donald.
Awesome. Let's get to it. I thought normally I would just go right into it, but I thought it would be easier to have it big so that we can talk about it, and then I'll show you how to do it. So I've got sort of a template, and if you do not have the template, if you will let us know in the comment section that you want this voice template, and if you'll let us know what specific LLM you want it for. Do you want it for Claude? Do you want it for GPT? Do you want it for, I'm going to go over Hatz Agent. Do you want it for Copilot? If you'll let us know that, we will get it to you in an email. Some of you got this last time, but I don't know if you had opportunity to look through it. So I'm going over this more in depth for you. So this first thing is, who am I? Now you can see it asks in my templates like your personality and your role. You can see that I gave it sort of my personality, what I am, what type of communicator I am. Now I also gave it hey, I'm a morning person. This is when I have the most energy. So why does that matter? Is a lot of times in Copilot, when I tell it, hey, I need to do a meeting, it will automatically try to do meetings for me in the morning because that's when I have the most energy. I have this built out a little bit more in Hatz where I have it like I really need to take a nap between 1 and 2:30. So it tries to avoid that time for me if possible. Uh, but the more you give it, the more it's going to know. This is, you remember the crafting. We're giving it a role. I'm giving it my voice. And here's where you really can shine in AI. You need to think about your signature expressions, what your communication style is, what your sentence preferences are. Email closing. Well, email closing is important because otherwise it's going to try and say best regards, which is an annoyance for me because I've never heard anyone in my life say best regards. So you'll see mine. I'm Texan. I'm going to use y'all all the time. It's part of my vocabulary, but I also threw some other things in there like fixing to, um, bacon without the sizzle. I'll tell you what, all kinds of stuff. And I want it to be a little more personalized, so I gave it some pop culture references. What's things that I like? I love Star Wars. I love Star Trek. I love football movies. And then, I got Tombstone in there because, again, I'm from Texas and those were ingrained in me as a child. Uh, and finally, in this stuff, I don't think you necessarily have to change. So you're going to say, grammar help. What's your main challenge when it comes to grammar? What are your primary goals? And then I'm giving my writing priorities here. I tell it the tone. I give it that. I talked about the do's and don'ts. Don't do this. Please don't put emojis in my email or my responses. I don't use emojis. Um, M dashes. Like I'm not learned enough to use an M dash in my writing. If you are, great. I am not. I say no marketing cliche, no filler words. I also tell it to try and recognize patterns because AI is it's all about words. So it tries to see patterns and use it. So I'm like, hey, stop that. I don't talk in patterns. And then I say, hey, I never want you to use these, and this is constantly, these words are constantly changing. So I say never use ensure, crucial, vital, because it just likes to use them over and over again. Now these are just a list of stuff that it likes to overuse. So that is important. And as you use AI, you can add that to it, or you can add words that you know that you're never going to use. Make this your own. Again, this is this is you making AI sound like you. What are you going to say? What do you not say? It's really important to do that because that's how people are going to not be able to tell that you used AI and how you're going to get better results. And then again, we talked about output, and this is just a way to do that without having to do it every time, right? I'm kind of cutting corners by giving it a giant prompt. So like, hey, clear subject lines, deadline. I'm giving a little bit of what I really want to see every time. All right, so let's do it. We'll start with Copilot first. And so this is pretty easy. You're just going to go over to the three little dots over here. You're going to click it, and then you're going to click Settings, and then you're going to click Personalization. And you see Custom Instructions, and you're going to edit instructions, and you're going to paste this right here. Here, I'll move this over. And that's basically it. This is all that stuff that I just talked about. I just thought it would be easier again to show you big than show you in here. And then you just save the instructions. If you didn't do this, and let's say you're like, I don't have time to do that, or I don't want time, you can still come in here and it gives you some additional things to add. And you just click that plus sign on what it thinks, and that's basically it. You just save it and you're done. Really simple. The hard part is coming up with those first few things, taking that 20 or 30 minutes to do that template. And now when you use Copilot Chat, it's going to sound like you. If you want to use ChatGPT, I'm already there. You're going to click over here on the left at the bottom by your name, and you're going to say personalization. And it's the same thing here. Now it has a little bit more. It will say, what is your base style and tone? And it gives you a list of what that could be. I said nerdy because I think that's me. Um, and then you can say, do you want it to be warm? And I was like, I want it to be more warm. Do you want it to be enthusiastic? Yes, I do. I want to show enthusiasm because enthusiasm is contagious, especially if I'm doing something like this, or let's say I need something to help, my team and lead some way, or, I want it to be enthusiastic and I want to try and spread that enthusiasm even when I'm not enthusiastic. I want it at least will always try to be enthusiastic for me. Um, and as far as headers and lists, I said I want less of that because I don't talk that way. And emojis, if there was a none option, there would be, but I've got my no emojis list in here. So again, custom instructions, you're just pasting that right in here. And, that's really it. Now, the only thing that you may have to worry about to sometimes is in both ChatGPT, in Copilot, in Claude, you do have a limit of character, like a character limit. So you have to make sure you can't have this giant uh, prompt, which I love doing. It's got to be more compact. So you can, and again, you can always take what you have and have AI be like, hey, this is my prompt, but it's too long. Can you shorten it for me? And then you get that output and you paste it in here. Again, and I would say always have your memory on and reference your chat history. So if you're going to have reference chat history, it is important that on the side, if you don't like the chat history of something, let's say I asked it about why my Hyundai Tucson was beeping. Um, you want to delete that so that it knows that you don't want it to reference that. So if you do get if you do get bad output, it is important that you go ahead and delete that later, all right? Because it's learning off that chat history if you have that checked. And now I'm going to show you a little bit. I talk about Hatz all the time, and because I love it. Um, One of the things with Hatz is I made my own voice agent, um, and I'll show you how I made that agent. Basically, I went to workshop and I created one. I gave it a name and a description. But the important thing here is that I wanted to share this. Let's see. Now, this is ginormously long. So it really allows me, I'm just kind of want to show you the length of this. It really allows me to be very picky with my voice and what I want it to say. There really is no constraints on this because I can save this as a text file or a PDF or whatever, and I can add it as a source right here along with instructions. And why do it in both places? Because sometimes the instructions, and this is any LLM, it forgets them after long chat histories. It just magically forgets what you're asking it to do. But if I add it as a source, it will always remember because it's refreshing itself on the source. So it gives me time and time again much better output, and that's why I like using Hatz. Um, and another thing with this is I can add tools, and which you can't do in the other ones. So some of the tools that I have added is I've added a link to my Microsoft 365, so it can read my email, my Teams, and things like that, and it can create calendar invites for me. It will draft email for me, that type of thing. I've added Perplexity. Some of y'all have maybe have used Perplexity. Perplexity allows you to search the internet. It's kind of like a Google, but much, much better. It's like AI search, AI web search. And then I use something called Tavly, and it's very similar in a way to Perplexity, but it does very deep thinking. So there are some times that I needed to do um, I needed to do like critical technical thinking. an idea, so I needed to really get the specifics. Tably is great for that. And with Hatz, you get like fire crawl where you can uh, crawl, say you want to crawl a competitor's website, you can do that. Or you want to crawl knowledge, you can do that. It's got code execution so that it can create documents. Um, I still haven't used the Hatz Workshop Assistant, but you can call other agents that you build into this. Uh, so a lot of different things you can do. X is very similar to Tadley, just another deep researcher. Google Calendar, LinkedIn, GitHub, HubSpot. So it has a lot of different tools that you can add. Somebody asked about Grok. Let's say if you're a big Twitter user, you can connect your X account to it and have it automatically do, or have it. You can have it post to your Twitter account or your X account, I guess, and see what's going on there, get information. But it has a lot of tools. I don't even use very many of them. But if you have something, maybe it's in there and they're constantly creating integrations. Uh, so, I'm always on the lookout for what it's offering. And that's sort of it when it comes to this, and using and personalizing. I guess we can go over. Do you have time to go over how Claude is real quick? I think it'll take me like 2 minutes.
Yeah, we're good. Oh, we do have a question about Copilot.
Yes.
So when we get there, let me know.
Just real quick on Claude, very similar. Over here by your name, then you can go settings, and already there, and then you're just going to paste it right here. That's it. It's really super simple. So that's all I have as far as how to actually do it. Let me see if I can find my mouse back. And so yeah, go ahead with your question, Rita.
Yeah, Ryan asked if there is a way to do the personalization with Outlook for email responses specifically, or is that using the same data set from Copilot?
It's using the same data set as Copilot, but you do bring an interesting question. And here's something that I will say it does annoy me about Copilot. If you're using Outlook as the desktop app, the personalization does not work yet. You have to use it from the web, or you need to use it from Copilot's chat. I've researched, and I've even tried to ask Microsoft reps, like, when is this going to happen? And I've not heard anything back from them. I will say it rolled out in Teams a few weeks ago, or it took like a week. And when I ask Copilot questions in Teams, it now uses my voice, but Outlook has not moved over there. So it still gives the canned email responses in Outlook, which is very disappointing. Saying that, what a time saver it is. Because with Outlook desktop, you can just type something, copy it, and say, "Hey, change this email and make it longer, change the tone." The fact it uses really fast, but it's not as personalized.
And one other question, Thomas would like to see the voice template for Copilot one more time.
The voice template for Copilot. Yeah, let me bring that up. I can show. We can send that over to you, Thomas, as well, but I will show you what it looks like, what mine looks like anyway. Here's what mine looks like. Let's see if I can make it bigger. Does that help? And once again, I will send you the actual template, and we can send you and your team the template, 100%. Any other questions, Rita? Yeah, absolutely, Thomas. We'll get that to you right after the meeting.
Looks like somebody's typing. One moment, we'll give them a sec. Are
Am
you
I using?
using Copilot Studio at all?
Yes, I am. It is something I'm new at. I experimented a while back, probably close to a year ago, and it was still sort of clunky. I have just started using it again, and I am creating some agents. So yes, I am using Copilot Studio. I will say it's definitely not as friendly as your normal AI. It is a learning curve to it, but yeah, I am. And as I learn more about it, I will share that with you in a Lunch and Learn.
And then we have one more question. Tim asked from his team, how much of the functionality of these various platforms is lost by utilizing the free versions?
Oh, so much. So much. And here's the thing. You have to be really careful with the free versions because you can't really use any client data you have, or you could be in severe breach of compliance, different things. Whether that's like government compliance and things like that, you can't use names in that because it uses that to train. So 100%, you want to really be careful using the free versions. And just so you guys know, especially if you're a client of ours, we do have AI policies that everybody really should have, and those can be free to you. If you can set up a time with us and we can customize it to you, or we can just send you our template. But 100%, you should have some sort of AI policy that is required for your entire staff. What you can do, what you can't do, what you can use, what you can't use. Very important. We've even gone on SBRs where we've talked with clients and said, "Hey, are you using AI?" Like, nope, nobody uses it. We can't use it, and we'll show actually you are, because like we have DNS filtering, so we say, "Yeah, look, you're using it here," and they're like, "What?" So it is important that you have some sort of policy in place so that employees know that they can or can't use it. I'm going to be honest and straightforward with you. This is why we started this. Your employees are using AI. So they're going to use it whether you give them the tool or not. So I do think we need to get a good way to get ahead of that is to offer them the tool that they can use, or really make sure it's in your policy and you lock it down. Locking down AI is really hard. We can do with some of the LLMs, but we can't lock it down for like Google Chat, like when you're searching Google, can't lock it down. We have not figured out a way, and it's not just us who haven't figured out a way. Our industry hasn't figured out a way to lock down like the search functions, because if you do that, you're just locking down all search, and you got to be able to search almost to do your job.
Donald, one other question from Thomas. Is there a way to do a search from the admin standpoint to see if staff members are putting client data specifically into an LLM?
Uh, that's a great question. I would say within Copilot, you can do certain things. It definitely protects IP and PII and things like that, so that you can. Now, if they're using, let's say they're using ChatGPT, I cannot tell what they're putting in there. I can tell they're using it, and I can lock that down where they can't use it, but I don't have an idea that they're actually using it or what they're putting in there. That's a great question. That's one of the things we're definitely worried about because it's moving so fast. That's why policies are so important. Any other questions? All right. Let's just so you guys know, if you would like an AI readiness assessment, let us know. We can talk about it. I'm not going to try to sell you anything, at least on that assessment. Uh, but I can say We can talk about where you want or what you're doing, where you want to go, and maybe some steps to get there. I do think I love AI. I like working with teams who really want to use it. Everybody is going to be different. This is not a one size fits all situation. And some employees are going to love it. Some employees are going to hate it. How do you overcome that? Um, how are you going to use it for your business to get ROI? We can kind of talk about that. And, what can the AI actually do and what it can't, that's important to know. So we can work through an assessment and work with you to see kind of where you're at and where you're heading. All right, Rita, do you have any other questions or anything else we need to cover? I don't know
Looking
if
good so far. Guys, keep in mind, if you have any other questions as we go along, feel free to just drop them in the chat.
All right, so I think that's about all I had to cover, unless anybody had questions on, sometimes people have questions on pricing, on what Copilot looks like or what Hatz looks like. I can answer anything like that if you have any information on that. Otherwise, you can have the rest of your lunch back and let us know if you want that template for personalizing your voice in AI, and let us know which LLM you want to use. Yeah, I can get that to you. 100%, I can get you the slide deck.
Of course, yeah. And we can send the recording out as well at the end of the call. So keep a lookout for an email from us. And there will also be a link to our next webinar, which is in a couple of weeks. And you guys can RSVP for that. And as always, if you can't make it, make sure to RSVP because then you'll get the recording.
Awesome. And yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for joining. Hopefully I see you next time. If you have specific questions you want or ideas for the next Lunch and Learn, hit us up, because this one I knew what I wanted to do. Next one, I still have to think on it. So your ideas might shape the next one. Thank you.
Absolutely. And we like when you do get that email, it goes, if you respond to it, it comes right back to us. So that feedback is really appreciated, and it really does help us create content for the next one. And we want it to be things that you guys like to see. So
Absolutely. All right. Thank you guys. Have a great rest of your day.
bye,
Bye.
everybody.